Hey there. Welcome, civilians. You've arrived at the home of civilized and thought-provoking commentary. Get ready for elevation, growth, and experience. I am the civilized woman.
Welcome back, civilians. I hope y'all's week was well. I hope you've had a wonderful Sunday. Aren't y'all proud of me? Y'all might actually get this tonight. This is Sunday night right now, or early Monday morning, depending on how long it takes me to edit and do all that stuff. But y'all, that is really good for me because literally last review y'all got like a couple of days before this episode came up. But we're here to talk about it, y'all. We're here to talk about Love and Marriage, Huntsville, Season 9, Episode 6, These Lips Don't Lie, or as I've dubbed this episode, as Mel and Martell gave the cast that work. Y'all, they were not playing. I looked at this and I was like, dang. If Martell had act right in him, this really how it could be and how him and Mel would still be on top. Now, let's be clear. We know our girl is the girl and she's always on top. But Martell would actually be on top as well, right? Because they would still be a unit. Yeah, they would be divorced because, he cheated and she was tired of giving him chances to correct it. And she was tired of being the only one essentially making any efforts to save their marriage. But it just was like, dang. Because I'm telling you, it was like Mel hit him low and then Martell hit him high. And then they would flip. And then Mel would hit him high and Martell would hit him low. And I was just like, why are you a nutcase? If you were not a nutcase, this is how y'all would be. Because it was a master class on how they handle the cast this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. So y'all know they still at the park, right? Because, we got that. They still at the park and they talking. Martell is expressing himself, and baby, when I tell you he was calling Marcel and Tisha everything but a child of God. He told Marsau, "You're ugly, you're dusty, don't nobody like you." He went in talking about like once Marsau set him off, it was a wrap, and then Tisha sitting there, and then he had no chill. He's talking about how Marsau won nothing. Like, you could never... I just got the sense that Martell is offended. Because he feels like... I know in his mind, he is like... He's the best looking guy out of all the guys there. And none of these men, to me, I find attractive. Just because their insides are just so horrible. It does not... They don't have redeemable enough qualities that would make their outside attractive to me just because of the crap kind of human beings they've depicted themselves to be on this show. So I don't deem any of them to be attractive, but if I had to give an edge, I would absolutely give an edge to Martell. But that, in my opinion, was largely due to having Melody as his wife at the time. I think he got some things out of that marriage that kind of helped him have the outlook that he had, and you could tell that he definitely was like, he knew that he was the best out of all these men, and to now be in this space where he's at the bottom and they got the nerve to be trying to look down him, in particular Marcel, because based on the way he described Marcel, it was like he was, Professor Clump. Before that, if y'all remember from Naughty Professor, was it Naughty Professor 2 or was it 1? Where it was 1 where Buddy, before he transformed into Buddy, that's literally how, to me, Martell was talking about Marcel in this episode. And Marcel is just sitting there, acting like he's above it, especially when he started to go in on Tisha. Now, y'all, did y'all catch that Tisha was like, Martell, that was college? Ma'am, the man just said that you were a pass around in so many words, and your explanation to that was, oh, it was college? Ma'am, I don't think that would have been my response. She did later on say that he was lying, but that literally would have been my first response versus talking about some Martell, that was college. Like, you didn't say that that was a lie. You just said that that was long ago, basically. And this exchange between Martell and Marcel really gave me a lot of insight on this group, in particular the core six minus Mel. So really the other five of them. In particular, we're focusing on Martell, Marcel, and Tisha, and it just gives me a lot of insight into also why Marcel treats Tisha the way he treats her. See, Tisha was supposed to be the good time girl, not the long time girl, and he got in that situation where he got caught up and he had to marry her, and because of that, she's not who he would have ended up with anyway. He in some level resents her, and that's why he treats her the way he does. That's why he gaslight her the way he does. That's why he doesn't show her the genuine respect, and he doesn't see her as capable. This really gave a lot because, y'all know I talk about this all the time, but men, there are categories that they put women in, and when they put you in that category, you are there. So Tisha, in my opinion, based on everything Martell was saying, was in a category that a man would not consider to be wife material. But Marcel had no choice due to circumstances that he had to move her from the category she would have rightfully been in into the wife category, and now he's refusing to play the full role of being a husband and not wear the ring and all that stuff. And we'll talk about that more. But so again, they're going at it, and and then Marceau says, at least I'm smart enough. In so many words, I was smart enough not to lose my marriage over a pass around side chick. Ooh, child. Ooh, child. Ariane, did you hear that? Is that true? Are you a pass around side chick, baby? Is that facts? Is that facts? Is that what Marceau's saying? Is that facts? And then at some point, Kimmy decides to interject herself, and I'm like, hush. Because you need to stay on mute like you were before, because you can't afford for him to turn on you or your husband. Because we all know you like to be little Miss Ostrich, bury your head in the sand, and like if you pretending that it's not happening, that it's not really happening. But everybody has this newfound understanding of how you should, it's so messed up how he's throwing Tisha under the bus, and he shouldn't have put Tisha in it. And how could he just do that? That's just so wrong. Destiny, if the men, the men are having their little pissing contest, you don't need to bring Tisha's past into this. Y'all, I'm giving Destiny the Finesser of the episode award. When I tell you that, did homegirl not start the fire and then decide to run away from the flames? Like, she knew good and darn well that Martell was going to go the heck off. Was going to go all the way off when she lit that fire. And what happened is exactly what was going to happen with him, because Marcel was going to say something slick, because Marcel ain't Marcel till he says, unless he says something slick that'll piss you off, to go off on him. So I just don't think though that they were expecting as much as they got from him. So essentially, Martell was being Martell, and he was going off, and there wasn't going to be nothing that they were going to do about it. You know what I found interesting? Tisha's in her confessional, and she's talking about how Martell's a liar, and he doesn't own up to anything, and he's always looking to blame other people. And I just find it very interesting that Martell is completely the orator or truth when it comes to Melody, but somehow when it comes to them, then he's a complete liar. And it's like, which is it? Is he a liar, or does he tell the truth? Okay, because he can't be a liar only when it comes to y'all, but completely and utterly truthful when it comes to his ex-wife. You're going to have to pick a struggle. And this basically alluding to the fact that Tisha settled for Marcel. And I don't think that any of us would really disagree with that at all, just based on the caliber of man that Marcel is. Now, he from time to time gives good TV, but overall, he, just like the rest of the men on the show, is a trash husband, in my opinion. So there is no concern about that at all. And then at one point, Marcel mentioned, because Lord knows, okay, they can't go no kind of substantial amount of time without Melody's name being brought up into something, even when the girl is not in the vicinity, child. So Marcel says to Martell, "That's why you asked me if Melody, gave me fellatio." Because they did a flashback with Martell talking about how he didn't, this was at that reunion where Carlos said that Ariane was a whole restaurant. How Martell didn't like that Melody and Marcel went out for drinks, and it was really him trying to be a friend to her. And I'm like, good and darn well that Mel is not down for that fool la la that y'all are on, and I think that's part of the problem. I think that Martell wouldn't have been trying to share Mel, especially with these guys. Let's be clear, because part of his feeling of being superior to them is the fact that he had Melody and she was better than all the other wives by terms of her ability, her accomplishment, her youth, her beauty, all those things. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody else on this, all the women are beautiful in my opinion in their own way, but it is clear that Melody has a level of star power that does not exist in the other women. So Martell wouldn't have been trying to share that, especially not with, y'all saw how he talked about Marcel, so he definitely wouldn't have been trying to share that with Marcel. So even if at some point Martell would have even tried to even talk that nonsense about the swinging within the group, or the swapping partners and stuff like that, Mel would have shut that down. And I think part of the appeal of Martell to Melody is that she was a good Southern girl. She wasn't down for all that stuff. She wasn't like Tisha in that way. She wasn't down for all the the mess that he was calling Tisha out on. And I'm just going off what he said. That's not my opinion. That's based on what he said and what she didn't really refute him saying. So that's just what we're going off of. So Marcel would have never had an opportunity, and I think that's probably a sticking point for Marcel too, because probably in his mind he had a fantasy that he was gonna have some opportunity at somewhere down the line to be able to get down with Mel, and there's no universe that exists. And I'm confident in saying this that would have happened. But it does show though that how the five of them out of the core six had that pact with each other that Mel was not a part of, right? Because at one point Carlos had talked about how, well, y'all had gotten together and decided y'all weren't going to talk about certain things, and there was one part of that Melody was not a part of. So the five of them have some kind of something going on that Melody was not a part of, and I think that little funny business with the homie swapping and all of that may have been a part of that. So they finally done with the park, and so they go to Tisha and Marcel in this ring shop, y'all. And when I tell you Marcel gaslit the mess out of Tisha in this ring store. First of all, Tisha talking about something, they go there all the time. Ma'am, I'm going to have to disagree respectfully. In my opinion, I have a feeling that this was your first time and probably your only time in that store. I'm not trying to count your coins. I'm just saying y'all don't seem to really flow like that based on the issues that y'all have off the show that's been publicized, that ain't really the way sway. But Tisha is determined to do this whole Marcel wear a ring thing, and I'm like, girl, the man didn't even want to marry you in the first place. He sure enough don't want a symbol of that union being on his finger. And it just basically also alludes to that they obviously had a problems in their marriage at one point, that they may have been headed for divorce. But I honestly think part of what forces them to be together, I think, is the fact that they can say they have one up on Mel and Martell. And that's sad and pathetic to me. Now, I know they have children, so that's obviously, I will hope that's a main factor, because these two individuals don't really love each other. They may have some kind of love for each other. They definitely have an understanding, but they don't really love each other, right? Like, it's just more tolerance, especially on the part of Marcel. He's tolerating her, waiting for the time, biding his time till the kids can all be out of the house. He can be out of child support zone, and then he can chuck the deuces, right? So she's in there talking about something. She wants him to wear a ring, and how she that that's part of why they have the problem that they have with people thinking XYZ, because he don't wear a ring. And then he goes and says, well, I don't worry about what people, because y'all know he condescending. Okay, I don't worry about what people think. And you know what, Tisha? One of the things I loved about you is that when I stood behind you, I could see your shoulders, how your head was out up high and your shoulders were broad, and you didn't worry about what people think. And I'm like, you mean to tell me this girl had confidence? And during the course of your marriage, you have worn it down to a nub where she is just a shell of herself? Is that what you mean to tell me? Because the Tisha we see today, I have a tremendous trouble being able to picture that this chick, okay, that this chick was confident, because the chick he's describing would not put up with the stuff that he deals out to her. And y'all, did y'all catch that Tisha pronounced marriage correctly in her in the confessional? And dang, I can't remember. I thought I had wrote down what the mile marker, the minute mark was, where she said marriage correctly, not marriage, but marriage. It would have been the confessional around when they were in the jewelry store, right? She's in the white, because that's no, not in the white. I think in the purple in the confessional. So she said it right, y'all. After all these years, she said marriage right, and maybe the next time they do an expo, she'll say that one right too. So that was good. But he's gaslighting her and basically trying to talk her out of wanting him to wear a ring. It's an absolute mess. He never misses a chance. Never misses a chance to. It'll look like he's trying to build her up and boost her self-esteem, but it's like, seeing as though that you're the one who's always tearing it down. It's kind of like almost putting trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. You putting water in, but then the water is seeping out from the hole that's in it. That's kind of what Marcel is doing to me. You trying to big her up, but yeah, you're the one who's tearing her down. So I mean, what's your end goal here, guy? What's your end goal here? So then they go to they so they go to Mel and Tisha, right, at this restaurant. So Mel is determined she's gonna meet up with everybody and just kind of talk about the trip. And that makes sense. That's like a good thing, right? When you come off of a trip with people or a person, you kind of do like a post-mortem kind of thing, right? Y'all get together, y'all kind of talk about like, girl, that was this, girl, that was that. Oh, if we go next time, we should do this. So that makes sense, right? So they get together, and Mel asks her question, and and Tisha is asking, oh, I could not wait to come home from that trip. And Mel's like, why? So they do all that out the way, right? And then Mel brings up, because listen, I'm living for it, because Mel is like, ain't no way y'all been talking about my stuff the entire inception of this show, okay? And think that I'm not gonna be talking about y'all stuff because that ain't ever how that's gonna work. This ain't that. So we're going to talk about it today. So, Tisha at this point, she don't want to agree with Mel. She's squirmy. She's trying to, Mel, now and Mel's like, now listen, how y'all feel about Tisha? So, well, we were just glad that he was okay. And Mel's like, see, that makes more sense. What you saying makes more sense than y'all being in the same, back to the scene of the crime, basically talking about some free Reese, right? Free Reese. What is that? Right? And then Mel goes on to share what she shared with us the episode before, when the DUI episode, about how she lost her grandmother, right? And then she's like talking about, they said that he had, did you see that his lips was pink? Now, looking at his lips, it does look like, it could be some lipstick on there. And Tisha's like, now Mel know what she's insinuating. And then Mel is like, Tisha, don't play with me. You see it. And then Tisha I'm telling you, Tisha hit the Tisha was out. She was a runner and a track star, okay? Because she gathered her food and left that table and wasn't trying to have no further conversations and left Mel with her bill, okay? Now, Mel goes on to say that they probably have a pact not to talk about it, and Tisha can't break the pact, and they probably do. I feel like there are several pacts on this show, and I think the Scott's pact probably trumps, all the, like, y'all know Mel is not part of any of this, but probably supersedes all the other ones, right? And then the Scott's pact, they move with the other pacts as as is conducive to them. And again, as long as it doesn't affect what the Scots are trying to do, then they'll, continue on that way. So then Chris and so the scenes jump back and forth between Martell and Destiny, aka Hunching Buddies, in my opinion, and then Chris and Marcel, and so Chris goes to check in, and now I'm gonna give Marcel credit because he absolutely and rightfully called out Chris, right? Because okay, that you let Martell call your wife a side chick and you don't do nothing. Chris trying to act tough like he really be checking Martell, and it's like you don't be checking Martell because that man don't call your wife a side chick to your face and her face individually and as a unit, and he continues to say it without any kind of ramifications. So y'all know that you are absolutely correct. So Marceau talks about how Martel does, he'll blow up and then he'll come back and apologize, and it's this whole hamster wheel, and then it starts back over again. And we know that because he does that to Melody all the time. Y'all remember, right, when Queen Sheba had done that episode, and he is, she was checking in on Mel because she was like, what did we miss? What's going on? And Mel had provided her that screenshot with Martell saying sorry, a million times. That's what it is, and even Mel calling him out about, you say you're waving the white flag, but you really aren't waving the right flag because you're doing some red flag stuff behind the scenes. So we all know this is par for the course. It's very interesting to me that these people have watched this man act the way he acts, right, towards his ex-wife. Now, let me start with Marceau on that front, right? Marceau has, as a man, gotten a no contact order on Martell. As in the history of this show, that's the first no contact order that Martell had against him. That was from Marceau. We all watched how they had to, including Marceau, keep him off of Melody, right? They all watch him do that. They even off the show, like Miss Van has said, even Melody has said that there's been times where they've had to call Marceau to get Martell because she was afraid of what he would do to Mel. So why this man blew up his whole life? He is on a complete and utter rampage to completely ruin his ex-wife, and somehow y'all think that he has the respect, he's respectful enough, he's ethical enough, he has enough decorum and enough accountability to not blast y'all? Like, are y'all for real? Or is it now is good for thee and not for me, or however that saying goes? Like, it's okay, when he does it to Melody. The fact that these people go in and out of empathy is wild to me. When it's with each other, it's empathetic. We all know in general that everybody on this cast babies Tisha. Tisha is older than Mel. Probably did Mel just turn 39 this year? So I want to say probably at least good 4 years older than Melody. And since Stormy is gone, Melody has now gone back to me the youngest person on this cast. And Tisha gets the most babied by everybody. Everybody bends themselves in the pretzel and goes out of their way to make sure that Tisha is not hurt, that her feelings are preserved. Like, she's treated like a little, baby, little baby bird egg that needs to be covered in, and it's like she does the most foul stuff, especially in the past and behind the scenes, and but yet every time something happens, it's we gotta protect Tisha. But when something happens to Mel, like legit things happen, like dangerous things, criminal things happen against her, it's just kind of like, well, she probably did something to deserve it. It's just very interesting to me. And I promise y'all, I mean it. I'm really intending on giving that to y'all this week about the dynamic that I found interesting between Tisha and Melody. But we know that by Martell. They know Martell better than we know Martell. And if we as the audience know how he gets down, y'all know how he gets down. But as it is now, you all are eating each other because you're reaping what you sowed. All this work and energy, this plot and plan to get at Melody, and now y'all the girls are fighting. So that just really kind of was just like, why are we acting surprised that Martell is being himself? Because that's all that is. And then y'all know, child, because I mean, my goodness, can Destiny go? Can we do a wager? Do we want to see how if Destiny is able to go an episode without mentioning Melody's name? Because they go back to her and Martell, and again, because we gotta pacify Tisha. You need to apologize to Tisha because that was just wrong what you did, and that was messed up what you did. And then he talked. Martell's like, well, Tisha knows the truth. Like she knows it, and talked about how Marsau had this mistress for 3 years, and Tisha talked to the girl on how to conduct herself, and without missing a beat, Destiny goes, so you're saying that she and Melody teach people how to respectfully cheat. What does Melody have to do with anything? She won at the park. There should have been no reason for anybody to have Mel's name in their mouth this episode except for Trisha and Tisha, because those are the two people that actually had an interaction with Melody this episode. There should have been the only people that spoke anything about her, in my opinion. But again, true to form, child, Martell is obsessed with Mel. Destiny is obsessed with Mel. They just feed each other's obsession, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Melody, because there was no reason to bring that up, and we've already debunked that respectful cheating nonsense is bull, and it don't make no sense, and that never happened. But we gonna move on. But y'all, y'all, oh my goodness, y'all. I could not, honestly, the way the show ended was my favorite part of this episode. So, okay, baby, the way Melody gathered Trisha and put her feet to the fire and had her foot on her neck, their entire interaction, I mean, was a thing of beauty. I loved every minute of it, because I've noticed that Trisha has a little bit more animus towards Melody, in my opinion, than she needs to, because I'm confident that y'all don't know each other. So I don't understand why you're talking about Melody like y'all know each other, or y'all have had some kind of interaction that will warrant you giving her the kind of energy you have been giving her. In particular, y'all know the episode that focused on her, Ken, and her men, Ken and Marquez, and her and Ken is at this restaurant, and she says some slick shade about Melody, and it's like, and I was like, you don't know that lady, you do not know her. I don't even know where you're getting that from. You don't know her. So anyway, she's already at the restaurant. Mel go, they exchange pleasantries, and Trisha, of course, because y'all know she used the right word for herself, and Mel piggybacked off that. She's awkward to me. She's very awkward. She does not know how to articulate herself, and the main reason for that is because most of the time she's lying, in my opinion, and she's trying to say it in a way that makes it truthful, but she's not savvy enough. She's not enough of a wordsmith to be able to, and she's not enough of an effective communicator to be able to do that. Now, she, unfortunately for her, this episode, she was sitting across from somebody who is very capable and who articulates herself well, knows how to call a thing a thing. She calls it like it is. She don't ignore elephants in rooms. She's going to ask the questions that need to be asked, and she knows how to get what needs to be gotten. So it was Trisha is not a formidable sparring partner for Melody, right? It was almost like Mel was talking to one of her kids, like she caught them doing something they weren't supposed to be doing, and instead of them telling the truth about it, they want to lie, and so now she got to break it down so then she can finally get the truth out of them. That's what was happening this episode, in my opinion, when it came to Mel and Trisha's interaction. So, excuse me. After the pleasantries, so Trisha starts to talk about how she just left without saying goodbye because she was pissed. Like everything was just awkward. When it came to talking about Martell, she don't know why Martell did that. And then Mel is like, well, girl, you made it awkward. It was awkward because you made it awkward, right? And so she said, well, it seemed like to me what you told your, and y'all, when Mel did the quotations in front of Trisha with her hands, your friends differed from what really happened. I hollered. I hollered. Because I'm like, yes, Mel, yes. Let her have it. Because she done came on this show. She don't know nothing about nobody except for who she say her so-called friends are. And they brought her on here because she was, again, supposed to be something that they threw in Melody's face, one of Martell's ex. The lady is over him. So she don't care at this point. At this point, it's just about, principle and how you present yourself as a person. And Trisha hasn't presented herself to be somebody who is on good terms with the truth. She's not a truthful person, right? So Mel started to help her out a little bit, right? So she said, so you go to a man's house that you don't know, that's a stranger to you, to train him. And she starts to it was, and so Mel's like, so what's the timeline? So because Mel is thinking, and they flash to her confessional, she's kind of like, if it was me, not that I care, but I would definitely, have pulled me to the side and said, hey, just to let you know, this, XYZ, this is the kind of encounter I had, with Martell, just to let you know. So, so Mel's like, okay, what year did y'all meet? Did you always know him? So she was like, she went to school with Martez, which is, y'all know, Martell's younger brother. And then apparently her sister, I think, went to Butler with Martell. So Mel's like, oh, so you knew of Martell? And she's like, yeah. So Mel's like, so what year? Trisha says 2020. And Mel's like, okay, what month? Oh, I don't know. So Mel said, you don't know. Okay, what house did y'all go to? I mean, what house did you go to? It was in the mountains. What did the driveway look like? Different, like a regular driveway. Mel is like, driveway in the mountains look different than regular driveways. So she said, so Trisha said it's a lighthouse. So Mel's like, there's two houses. There's one that's white and one that's a light color. Which one was it? The white one. Okay. What time did you go? Was it Mel's like, okay, well, I left in April. I filmed Behind Every Man in there like summertime. Trisha's like, it's cold. Mel's like, well, I do know that by the point before it got cold, really cold, he no longer had that house. So again, Trisha is fumbling and trying to find the answers and trying to find what she can say that would be sufficient enough to get herself out of this. and I gotta tell you, y'all, like This was masterful. It really, really was. So, and part of Mel's confessional, she's like, not that I care. Basically, this was like her sentiment. Not that I care necessarily anymore, but it would have been nice to pull me to the side, like if I were her, like, and just say, hey, this is what, happened with me and Martell, blah, blah, blah. So Mel is asking her all these questions, and Mel's like, okay, so all of this has transpired, right? That this conversation you had about what you didn't do with Martell, whatever. Did all of that happen before I invited you on this trip? Trisha tried to act like she didn't hear Mel's question, so Mel, repeats it again in some, variety, and she said, "Oh yeah, it happened before one on the trip," and it was just kind of like awkward music, because it's like just on GP. Like, we all know that Melody don't care at this point. It's just on GP that you would just mention it to this lady that you had some kind of interaction with your ex. Now, us on the outside looking in, we all know why she was brought there. Ain't really about her little rinky-dink story with her boyfriend and her husband. It was more so for the fact of whatever she may or may not have done with Martell, and that was just another way for them to throw somebody in Melody's face who has messed with Martell. Now, Mel had already said the man was messing around on me even during his marriage. Like, I'm not expecting him to be faithful after the marriage. I don't really much care. It's GP. Like, as a woman, if you have dealt with somebody's ex in that way, woman to woman, it speaks on your character and the kind of person that you are. And honestly, Trisha has proven herself to be a liar, pants on fire. So that's part of the problem, is that she is not a forthcoming person. So now I got to check your character, because I don't give a darn about my ex. I got to see how you move, because I got to know how to deal with you. And it's clear that you hang around them other people, so you probably, are of the same ilk as them, but you're now trying to be in my space, and then you're trying to be in my space, and you're not a forthcoming person. So now I got to test you out, because I got to see what kind of character I'm dealing with. So it kind of does to be continued from there, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that gets concluded. And I'm further looking forward to the scene that they have that they show of Mel, Trisha, and Marquez. And Marquez seemed to kind of be asking Melody, tips on how to deal with your ex, while Trisha is standing right there. So that's going to be a hoot and a half. Let me just say before I close out this end of the recording, though, it's been awesome to get real reality TV from this show, right? Because there's been a lot of heaviness due to a lot of what happens outside of the show. That's a very, very serious matter. But having these past couple of episodes, especially when Mel did this episode, and let me say this further. If anybody on this cast has the absolute and unadulterated right to speak whatever she wants to speak, prod, poke, whatever, into whoever's business, she has the absolute and unfettered rights, in my opinion, to do so. The way they have talked about this lady's business, these people have collected checks, not off their own story, but off of this lady's story. Okay, so she has a right to put her foot to folks' necks and call people to fire, and say, we are no longer ignoring elephants in rooms. We gonna talk the thing y'all don't want to talk. The same way, when it comes to my stuff, everybody has a thing to say. Then that's gonna be the same order of business with anybody else's issue. That's how we gonna play ball around here, right? So I appreciate that so much. It's necessary. It is the right amount of mess that you need for a reality show without it being heavy, right? And then I get the feeling that Carlos is not in as much control of this show as he was in the past, because there are things that they're doing that he would not make the cutting room floor in years past, that they're letting through the cutting room floor, right? Like scenes where there's a level of letting Mel let's be fair. Let's let Mel do what she do. Let's let her now, be the rabbit with the pow pow, and kind of, turn it on everybody else, right? And so that's been refreshing to see. Let's hope that keeps going, because I find it to be a more enriching show, and I think that's going to make for a better reunion, because it's not going to be, once again, Mel and Martell, Mel and Martell, Mel and Martell. And hopefully, Carlos don't bend himself into a pretzel, with these rehearsed reads that they always give Tisha. But it was just a nice episode, because it was just regular reality TV stuff. So let's get in the comments. I want to hear y'all opinion. As always, y'all have just been amazing and a blessing, and I love, piggybacking off of y'all in the comments, on these various episodes. So I'm looking forward to what y'all think about this one. Do y'all agree with me? If you differ, y'all know I love to hear all opinions. Even if I don't agree, we can always agree to disagree and keep it pushing to the next day, okay? Until next time.
Please like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.